Hello everyone and welcome back to Destiny. The Bungie Creator Summit is upon us, and while I will not be attending, I'm definitely enjoying the current era of positivity and constructive criticism around the game. So later this week on Friday, I'll be hosting my first ever YouTube live stream at 6 p.m. Pacific right here on the channel. I'm sorry I had to do it in the evening. It was either this or sometime in the weekend. I do have a day job, so this was the earliest I could schedule it for, so hopefully most of you will make it out. If not, of course, it's going to be archived on the channel, so you can watch it later on. But essentially, I want to have our own sort of community summit. We'll do a Q&A where you can ask me anything you want, Destiny related or otherwise, and I'm hoping we can play some Iron Banner, chill, and discuss the future of Destiny. Until then, in this video, I want to lay some groundwork for that discussion. From the assessments I've made, there are some pretty major areas of opportunity, and I want to go over a couple of them in this video. That's going to be weapon slots, perks and mods, and then rewards acquisition and progression. Like I said, I'll lay the groundwork of these topics here, and then we can dive deeper in the comments, and especially during the live stream on Friday. Of course, there are other topics and categories that I want to touch on eventually. Topics like collectibles, progress tabs, the potential of patrols and quests. There is definitely no shortage of topics to talk about in regards to Destiny, but for now we'll focus on those two topics. And you might have also noticed that there's an absence of PvP-centered topics here, and the truth is that I'm not super attached to the Crucible myself. I'm definitely more of a PvE guy, but with that said, I think addressing many of these issues will have a positive spillover into the PvP experience as well. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Alright, so getting right into it, let's talk about weapon slots and perks and also mods 2.0. Now, Bungie has confirmed that weapon slots are changing and that they are tied to mods 2.0, and at this point, even though there's no confirmation as of yet, there's a good chance we'll be seeing it for the fall update. Now, there's a very good chance that the attendees of the summit are going to be shown what the system looks like, and will have the opportunity to discuss it and give their feedback to the developers. So, of course, they're going to be under NDAs, we're not going to really be able to know what they're going to be shown, but of course, in the meantime, everyone and their grandma has an idea for weapon slots, and I thought of one that I haven't heard of yet, so I'm going to go ahead and share it to you now. So, for weapon slots, I thought it would be cool to completely free up the weapon types so that they're not necessarily tied to a particular slot. Rather, break up the slots for different weapon archetypes. Think of a high-impact sniper rifle being in a power slot, but then the mid-tier sniper rifle being categorized as energy. You could have a kinetic sword, a fast-firing combat shotgun could also be a kinetic option, and those single-load grenade launchers could then be redesignated as a energy weapon. Think about the weapon system in The Division if you're familiar with that game. You have 2 weapon slots, but you have no restrictions as to what kind of weapons you can put into those slots. You're taking the concept that was used in exotics like the Universal Remote or the Fighting Lion in Destiny 2, and you're applying it across all weapons. But fixing the slots, of course, won't be enough. I really hope that Mods 2.0 is fully integrated into weapon perks, not just tacked on like they are right now. There's a big issue with weapon perks in Destiny 2, and that they are basically irrelevant. They're just pretty lights. Weapon perks used to mean something, your choices used to mean something, and they don't anymore because you have nothing to compare off of. It's especially bad for exotics. Just the very fact that the Graviton Lance has accurized rounds and no other options is a little silly because you have no context of what the weapon is like without accurized rounds, so there's no point in even having the node for exotics. This clearly illustrates that the weapon perk system was moving in the wrong direction. Let's take a look at the Antiope D and the Atalanta D to further illustrate this. Now, there are other weapons like this that essentially are kind of illustrating what weapons might be like with different perks. They're very similar, they have a couple different stats here and there, but you get a pretty good idea of what it would kind of be like if they had randomized rolls. So, the Antiope D has a choice between ricochet rounds and tactical magazine for the magazine perks, but it also has kill clip as its trait. In Destiny 1, the column of perks would be completely randomized. You would have a certain number of selections that were possible, but essentially they were randomized, and so would the trait be, giving you a seemingly endless combination of perks that you could play around with. Now you have fewer choices to begin with, and the choices you have don't really make too much of an impact to your experience. You will most likely pick the perks that work best for that weapon or for that set perk, and you'll probably never move away from it. It's an illusion of choice. The Atalanta D has slightly better stability for the sake of range, already ruining your ability to observe the differences with magazine choices, and then on top of that you're locked to the choice between extended mag and steady rounds with tap the trigger as its trait. In fact, extended mag might work better with kill clip, with it helping make sure you get that kill to proc kill clip in the first place, but of course you don't get to explore that. A great idea was positioned by Twitch streamer King Gathalion, and that was to keep legendaries with set rolls like they are now, but to make the Masterworks drop with a completely empty perk tree, allowing you to unlock and customize perks as you level up the gun. I like the sentiment of that idea, the idea of growing attached to your gear. Now I thought of another system that could also work, and in fact that system is already in the game, and yes, I'm referring to the new mods on raid armor. I would love to see a system where you acquire a piece of gear and it drops with 3 random traits built into the piece of gear, and you can choose to activate one of them. However, you can't activate them until you attain specific materials, like let's say things like Radiolarian Culture or something along those lines. Think of how you activate the different raid armor mods, but of course they should cost more than just a single token. I think that's why we have the raid armor as we see it now. I believe that they are just testing out the waters with this system, and hopefully it'll be expanded upon in the future. So for instance, the Better Devils would drop with no trait assigned, but hovering over the node would show you 3 options. Let's say Dragonfly, Explosive Payload, or Triple Tap. If you wanted Dragonfly for your Better Devils, you would go grind a specific section on Earth, or perhaps complete a specific adventure that would then reward you a special item. Let's say it's called the Ahamkara Heart. Then you could take 3 Ahamkara Hearts and 10 Legendary Shards, and then apply Dragonfly to your Better Devils. A system like that would allow you to build your weapon from scratch and make it truly yours. Then for Masterworks, I would flip the idea on its head and make it roll into a random perk for free. If you didn't like the perk that it had, well then you could simply re-roll your Masterwork like you could now, and it would give you 3 additional perks. That would make you even more excited to get your Masterwork, as you know you can skip the grind. The best part of that is that the same thing could be applied to current armor, so that they could reintroduce perks like Angel of Mercy, Arcburn Defense, or Ashes to Asset. Now of course that's just one idea, I would really love to hear yours in the comments below, but for now let's move on to rewards. There's lots of issues with the current reward system, mainly stemming from the fact that it's a little too random, and there's nothing to really pursue. The forged weapons were a really great step towards crafting your own gear, or at least having a driven pursuit of some kind. The Nightfall weapons were also a great example of driven pursuits, but they both fell short in execution. Now I am coming off of a bitter Nightfall week where I didn't manage to get the DFA after dozens of runs, but it made me realize that this should be incorporated into an activity that is perhaps a little better suited for repetition. My idea was to reincorporate the key system into Heroic Strikes in a way. Make me grind out Heroic Strikes to get the key, and then make me run the Nightfall to use the key. That way I'm not running through the same Nightfall 50 times in a row. The core issue here is that we need more driven pursuits that we can actually care about, and less of a shower of randomness. Losing the distinction of weapon or armor for engrams may have been removing a couple of unnecessary layers of RNG, but it also removes some of your sense of control over your progression. When leveling up in Destiny 1, I would rush to the tower whenever I got a special engram because I was pursuing the perfect sniper rifle. Even though there's no logical reason for it, it still gives you a sense of purpose and control over your progression and grind that I just don't have right now. And if that didn't dilute it enough for you, they've increased the rewards you get so you don't have that sense of loss. Rank up packages now give you both armor and weapons, which only contributes to the oversaturation of loot that you get in the game. We need to receive less loot overall and make rares more important for longer. I stressed this during the Dream of Destiny 2 video I made over the summer. In that video I proposed to make rare gear more meaningful for longer in the game as you progress your power. Then make legendary gear much more coveted and a little bit more rare to acquire. Legendary gear fell really high end and specialized in vanilla D1, and oftentimes you could only afford to buy one per week. I think part of the solution is going to involve injecting more unique rare gear into the game, with hopefully different weapon models, please, and have them drop as rare engrams. Make uncommons drop like they did in Age of Triumph, but have them auto-decrypt like they used to in Destiny 1. I should return to Rahul with, let's say, 5 rare engrams, 2 bright engrams, and maybe 1 or 2 legendaries if I got lucky. Maybe one of those rares would decrypt into a legendary, and that would be awesome. The issue with legendary gear in the game isn't only because of the set perks, but it's because I got everything there was to get by week 2. The rest of what I didn't have was time-gated through events. Who knows, maybe just simply doing that and the better perk system might be enough to make rank-up packages special again. But anyways, I hope that all made sense. I'd really like to hear what your thoughts are on those ideas down below. Again, Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific right here on my YouTube channel. I'll be hosting a Q&A live stream, so definitely stop on by, say hello, and we can talk about Destiny. Anyways, as always, drop a like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe for more Destiny content. And I will see you all next time.